On March 11th, 1898, a young man by the name of Pete, and I'm going to try to say this right, but I'm going to probably mess it up, Nika was his name, sailed away from his home in Russia to Nova Scotia. And he didn't come from a wealthy family. Actually, he came from a poor family, but they had saved up their money over the past several months so that he would be able to afford this ticket on this cruise liner that would change his life forever. He would go on to become an evangelist and affect many people's lives later on. But this particular journey, God had something to teach him. Before he left home, his mother had gathered up some bread and garlic so he would have food for the journey and packed it in a sack so that he would have something to eat. As he got on the boat and waved goodbye, he didn't know what his future held, but he knew it was an exciting time. He traveled on the boat, and each day he would go and eat his bread and his garlic. But each day he would pass by the dining hall, in which he would see the rich people in their eating to their fullest. Eating all kinds of fancy pastries and meals, meats of all different assortments. But yet he went and ate his black bread and garlic. And with each passing day, he became hungrier and hungrier and wanted so badly to just join those folks in that dining hall. And one day, some of the sailors saw him glancing through the window, looking in, and said, "I bet you would like some of that good food, wouldn't you?" Which he said, "Yes, I certainly would." He said, "Well, you know what we're going to do? In exchange for you doing some of our chores in the kitchen, we'll let you have some food every day." That sounded like a good deal right there, so he jumped right on it. And for the rest of the trip, he would show up in the kitchen. He would work and do their chores, whatever they asked him to do, wash dishes, clean floors, clean pots, pans. It didn't really matter. So he could get some of the good food. And this went on the entire trip. And finally, on the last day, a steward saw him and said, "Where are you going? What are you doing?" He said, "Well, to tell you the truth, I didn't really have anything to eat but this bread and garlic that my mom had packed me for the journey." He said, "And I was so hungry, and looking at the folks in the mess hall, I just wanted some of that good food." And so these good sailors, they offered if I would do some of their chores, that they would let me have some of the good stuff. And the steward shook his head. He said, "Are you a stowaway? Do you not have a ticket?" And he said, "Well, yeah, no, I had a ticket. We had money for a ticket. That's all we had." And he said, "You silly boy." He said, "The meals are included in the price of the ticket." You know, as we approach the holidays, I wonder how many of us miss out on the blessings that come from Christmas because we're so caught up in everything else. We're so caught up in shopping, going to the mall, fighting for just the perfect parking place, the one up front, so you don't have to walk very far, so we can get in there and fight with 400 other people for the one perfect gift that's going to bring a smile, but make somebody happy on that Christmas morning. And we miss the fact that joy's been here all along. Joy came to the world 2,000 years ago. It was announced by angels to shepherds in a field, born to two young parents in a strange town, away from home. In such poor circumstances that they used a manger for a crib. Joy was here all along, yet they didn't recognize it. And I wonder how many of us miss that joy because we're so caught up in all the other things they call Christmas these days. You know, joy is probably the one word that really best describes what Christmas should be all about. Joy. You know, we use it in our songs, right? Joy to the world, right? You know it. Oh, come all ye faithful, joyful, right? It's used, but do we really appreciate what it's all about? Do we really know what being joyful is all about? How many of you are joyful this morning? Some of you are. Some of you are joyful to be here, right? It's a little easier to be joyful in here when we come, we sing Christmas songs, and we gather, and we like each other. But what about when we get out there? Are we joyful out there when we get beyond those two doors right there? Are we joyful? Is that what people see in us when we're fighting over that parking space? I mean, that's a joyful thing. Yeah. I bet that's real joyful. Is that what people see? You know, I'd say that most people aren't, or struggle at least, with being joyful once they leave this room. Right? You know, if we looked at the faces of people, we'd have to wonder what's wrong. All those people. It reminds me of a boy who went to spend some time on his grandfather's farm. And he was there for a week. And each day the boy would wander out to the farm and he encountered different animals. He saw the chickens out there scratching and pecking the food. And he said, "You ain't got it." And he walked on and he encountered some pigs rolling around in the mud, kicking, happy. "You ain't got it." And he kept going. He came across a colt who was running across the field, kicking, jumping. "You ain't got it." Finally, after days of searching, he came across this donkey in the barn. And this donkey had that long donkey face, that frowny face there. He said, "You know the face of the donkey." He said, "You got it. You got it." And he started yelling for his grandpa to come in there. He said, "Grandpa, come here, come here! Grandpa!" And Grandpa came up, about broke his neck, trying to get in. He said, "What is wrong?" He said, "I found it. Papa, I found it." He said, "What did you find?" He said, "This donkey has the same face as your religion." You know, is that how the world sees it? Is it? Is that how the world sees this? You know, most people know enough about the Christmas story that they can tell you some of it. Do you know it? You know the Christmas? Do you know the whole Christmas story? You know? How many wise men were there? Come in. How many people think so?
Tradition has it three, but we don't really know.
There were 3 gifts.
Yeah.
We don't know how many wise men. It was a trick question. Sorry. I just couldn't resist. But do you know the story? Have you read the story? Do you know what it means to the world that God loved you so much that He sent His Son here for you? That's a gift. That's the gift that keeps on. That's better than Hallmark. That's the gift that keeps on giving, I think. Year round, year. You see, it's about a relationship. You see, being joyful is different than being happy. Did you know that? How many of you are happy? There's a difference between being happy and being joyful. Right? Being happy means, or is based on, your present circumstances. You do something good, find a $20 bill on the ground, you're happy. Somebody comes and snatches it away from you, and all of a sudden you're sad. It's temporary, right? Happy has to do with your present circumstances, what your situation you are in. Some of you out there saying, I don't have a reason to be joyful. You don't know my finances. You don't know my relationship status. You don't know. I checked your Facebook. I know most of them. But you don't know. You don't know the things I'm going through. And that's true. I don't. But see, the problem we have is that we think joy and happy are the same thing, and they're not. Happy comes from your situation. You're in a good situation. Things are going smoothly. You're happy, right? Billy puts in some cabinets. The person he's putting them in for gives him an extra $500 just because it's a good day. Billy's happy, right? That's a good day. That's a good day right there, right? You get news that you passed the national board. Happy. That's a good day right there, right? But it's temporary. Temporary. Joy is long term. Joy is what God gives you in spite of your circumstances. Joy is what God puts in your heart to get through the tough times. Joy is when God sustains you when you suffer a loss. Or when your finances are bad, you don't know how you're going to pay them. But somehow, some way, God comes through. That's joy. Joy comes from when you take and you trust in God in all your circumstances. In other words, you trust that no matter what happens, God's going to deliver. That no matter what happens, God's in control. And if I didn't find a 20, somebody else must have needed that 20 more than me. May not be happy about it, but I'm joyful about it. You see the difference? Happiness is just a temporary thing. Joy comes from a relationship with God and a trust in God and an understanding that God has a perfect plan for each and every one of them. That's what joy is about. You see, because when you put joy down your heart, when God plants that trust, when you have that trust, when you work through things with God, and that's a part of who you are, things are different. You see the world different. Your perspective changes. You're no longer like the teenage boy who goes up and opens up the refrigerator full of food and says, "There's nothing in here to eat." Or the teenage girl who goes and opens up the closet door and it's packed and there's so much stuff that's on the floor, won't even fit on hangers. I have nothing to wear. Nothing at all. We start to see things in their true perspective. How really blessed we are. Because we're all blessed. Some of us recognize it. Some of us don't. Sad. You see, when you take that trust and you put it in God, when you bury that in your heart, and you approach each and every day like that no matter what happens, God wins. It doesn't matter. When you approach your life like that, your perspective changes. And things seem to change. It doesn't become more about how do I weather this storm. It becomes more about learning how to dance when it's raining. Right? You don't have to beat the storm. You just have to learn to dance in the rain. There was a lady who was ill and she was bedridden. She had a window next to her bed. The pastor came to see her and she said, I love the robin. She said, that robin out there sings to me every morning. She said, I just love to hear that robin sing. Said, more than anything else though, I like is when it's raining, that robin still sings. He said, the other birds out there, they don't sing no. They shut up. They just get quiet. But the robin, he still sings. Even in the rain. As Christians, we need to be like that robin. And we need to learn to sing even when it's raining. Because things will get bad. I'm not here to tell you that life is a bowl of cherries, or as my daughter would say, clouds and cotton candy. You know, it's not that. Life gets hard sometimes, amen? Here's a perfect view for those people who don't have hard life. Is up here. But life does get hard. And it has problems. That's just the rain. It's not raining now. But when you have God in your life, you have a way to overcome. Right? To get through. To be comforted in your time of need. To be strengthened in your time of need. You know, I found that as I've gone through my life, that the more I've trusted God, the more I've experienced God, and handed things over to God, I found that I will never be disappointed. The more that I've come to trust God and His plan for my life, the more I've come to realize it's a perfect plan. And while sometimes I don't see what's around the corner, He's already there. And while the road may be bumpy and filled with potholes right here, around the corner is a better time. Smoother sailing. But I need only trust Him to get me there. That's what being joy, or having joy in your heart, is all about. Because that perspective changes who you are. And then, like that robin, it's our job to spread that word. To share with the rest of the world. When we leave here, they shouldn't see a donkey's face. They should see a smile, right? Smiles aren't hard to do, are they? Anybody in here cannot afford a smile. I know some tough economic times. Anybody not able, a smile is the thing everybody can afford to do. And it changes so many people you encounter. Just by simply smiling. Right? You see, when we don't smile, when we walk around with that donkey's face, how many people are you sitting there thinking, boy, look at that. I hope I can be like that someday. I don't know what they got. I want to get me some of that. Boy, I like that. That's good stuff, right? No, it doesn't happen that way. But when you smile, when you're able to show joy, even in tough times, it speaks to a non-believing world. And they come say, what is up? What's up with Charles? He's smiling. Things aren't going good. How can he still smile? How's that happen? What's he got? I want some of that. I want to get some of that. I don't know what he's got. What is the source of his joy? But I need to find out because I want to be happy. He doesn't know it's joy, not happy. Right? We have to seek it out. We have to be that joy in other people's lives. We talked about it. We've been talking about that for the last few weeks. About filling that hole that exists in some people's lives. There are a lot of people in need. Right? And that's one of the easiest ways you can do it. You can give a smile to somebody you don't even know. Right? If I smile at you, you smile back. You don't have to be rich to give a smile. And the funny thing about a smile is no matter how, if you encounter somebody who's not smiling, who can't give a smile, that's the person who's in need of smiling most. And it's amazing. It's kind of like a child's laugh. How contagious that is. And how when you hear a child just laughing, that belly roll, that pure laugh that can only come from a child, you know the one. You've heard it before. You remember that? When you hear that laugh, it doesn't just make you want to smile. It makes you want to laugh yourself, right? It's the same thing with a smile. When you see other people smile, you want to smile back. You want to give back, right? And that's who we need to be. But is that who we are? Or are we just missing that? Do we not realize that joy is out there for us? as one of God's many gifts for us, that we can trust Him, that He's in control. And we can trust Him that He's going to do for us and take care of us and sustain us. And there is nothing in this world that is greater than His word. It's pretty simple. Are we like the newlyweds who on their wedding night were escorted up and we're in the bridal suite of a hotel? And we're escorted up there by the bellhop, bags placed in the room, and as they started looking around, they saw a beautiful chair, sofa, table, nice. Had a little sink over there, it looked pretty nice. But there was no bed. And they looked, and they looked at each other, and they looked, and they looked at each other. And finally they figured out that the sofa was a bed. So they pulled that out, and they went to bed, and they slept on this lumpy mattress, spring broken, no support given, sofa bed. Have you ever been up here? I don't know. Anyway. And the next morning, the groom rightfully got up a little bit angry. And he went down to see the manager. And after a tongue lashing about how terrible it was to try to sell it off as a bridal suite without even a bed in it, the manager simply looked at him and said, "Did you open the doors to the connecting room?" Oh, I thought that was a closet. How much do we miss because we're not able or willing to trust in God, to step outside our box? That's a comfort zone. It's comfortable when you trust in your own self. But how much do we miss by not being willing to open those doors and see that something better than a sofa bed awaits us? How many times do we settle for second best because we're unwilling to venture out and claim the joy that God provided when He announced to the shepherd, sent His angels to announce to the shepherd? Don't be afraid. I bring you good news of great joy. Not great happiness, great joy. Joy because it wasn't meant to be temporary. It was meant to be long-term, forever. Good news for them. Good news for us today. Amen? Amen. You know, one of the biggest, or one of the exciting things, the things that brought me joy as a child, was to be able to write Santa a note. You remember doing that as a child? Dear Santa, this is what I want. You remember that? And what was even more exciting was that somehow Santa would write you back, right? Well, Kenny, you've been so-so. But regardless of that, I'm gonna fulfill your. What would it be like if God wrote you a letter? What do you think it would sound like? Any idea? I want you to take out those notes that you wrote earlier. And I'm going to try, my glasses are giving me a fit today. And I'm going to try to read through this. This is what I think the note would sound like. Now there are 4 blanks in this letter. If you open it up to the inside, there are 4 blanks on the inside. I want you to fill in basically what you put in there as we read along. Okay? So in other words, when I say dear, you would say, Billy would say, Billy. That's what Billy called him. Billy. Okay, you get the idea? So it says, Dear, Merry Christmas. As you rush through the preparations for Christmas, I want to answer a question that has run through your mind from time to time. How good is good enough? Believe me, I get that question a lot. Well, let's start by saying that before I began my creation story, I had you in mind. You are beautiful and special and so very unique. In fact, I broke the mold after I made you. I love you completely, and one of my greatest joys is seeing you. I want you to know that seeing you smile and enjoying life gives me indescribable pleasure. So loving you isn't the issue, because I do. And I don't mean love in the same way that you love. You love your wife. No, this love I have for you is deep and wide and incomprehensible and unconditional. I simply couldn't love you any more than I do. But from the beginning, it was very important to me that you have the freedom to choose whether you want to love me back or go along with the perfect plan I've laid out, or choose to go on your own way. Simply put, that choice boils down to living with me forever or living apart from me forever. And let me just say, I'm never happier than when my children want to be with me. However, here's the dilemma. Even when you choose me, I know it's impossible for you to follow my plan 100% of the time. You're going to mess up, but don't feel bad because everybody does. For instance, I know that even though you try really hard, you still struggle with. That's why Jesus came, born into humble surroundings, my only son, took on all the challenges and sorrows and temptations and fears that you go through. And he handled them all perfectly, every single time. And then he went to the cross and offered up his perfect, blameless life in exchange for yours. He didn't have to do it. He chose to do it. For you, because